right, so week 6, second exercise for that week has to do with layer masks. So if you click on it, you're going to see that there's 2 images to download and then 2 citations for those images. So doing as I say to do, I've included citations for both the images I took from Flickr. Woman at the Window is the one you're going to do for homework. Dark Window is the one I'm going to show you how to work with here. So when you click on it, unlike usually it doesn't download right away. This happens a lot with JPEGs. So I have to click on it, save image as, or right click on it and put it somewhere more useful. There we go. Making sure it doesn't have parentheses in the name. There we are. If you just click on a JPEG, it's going to open over in the preview window. So I'll have to go into Photoshop, file open, and find it this way. So, excuse me, I'm going to unlock it. What we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be putting something so that it looks like it's inside the window. And you can put whatever you want in there. People kind of had fun with this. I have, is it this? Yeah. You know, something silly, whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to make any sense. But what we're actually going to do is that we're going to put this, whatever it is, on top of the window layer, and then we're going to mask it out so that in the shape of the window layer. The reason we're going to be doing this is because what I don't want to do, wrong tool, is, you know, use this and hit delete and then put something behind it, because that's destructive. And we already know how to do plenty of destructive editing. I want to show you a non-destructive way to make something look like it's behind something else, just in case you have to make any changes. Change how things are interacting, right? So first thing that will happen, I already know this is going to happen, I'm going to try and click and drag this over here and then let it go, and it's going to say no. And you can actually see that the cursor changes. Big giant no button. Well, why is that? Well, if I take a close look at the names of these 2 files, it's got the name of the file .jpg, the size it's at, and then it says layer 0 RGB/8, meaning it's 8-bit RGB. This one says it's an index file. It's a completely different file type, color scheme, the whole 9 yards. It can't communicate with RGB. So I have to go up to image mode and change this to RGB color. And when I do that, now it'll let me drag it over here. There we go. So I'm going to put him there. And we're going to make him bigger just to fill the screen, or fill the area where the window is at, but I can always change it later. I already know that. So there we go. So how do I get this to look like it's behind this when it's technically on top of it? Well, we're going to put a mask on this. A mask is basically something that says don't show parts of the image. So I make sure I click on my window layer, and I've turned off the visibility on this layer. So I click on my window layer and I grab my quick select tool, because I'm going to try this one first. And when I make the brush a little bigger, and when I click and drag, pretty quickly I get that. And I can get the dark areas pretty quickly. I'm actually going to leave the green on purpose just to have something to fix later. Alright, I'm going to leave this 2 on purpose just to have something to fix later. And we're not going to hit delete. What I'm going to do is now that I have this area of the image selected, I'm actually going to go up to the other layer, turn it back on, select this, and go up to layer, layer mask, and I can either hide what areas I have selected, or I can reveal what areas I have selected. And in this case, I selected the areas where we want to see him, so I'm going to say reveal selection. And this is what happens. Let's digest this a little bit. We've got the image, or the thumbnail of what's going on here. And then you've got this black and white thumbnail. That's the mask. A mask is another way of saying an alpha channel. It's just other information on what's going on. And what's going on is it's telling this image, the orange guy, where to show up and where not to show up. So it's told the orange guy, everywhere that's white, show up. Everywhere that's black, don't show up. If I was to paint on this image and make a grayscale, then it would semi show up, right? So that's what that means. This chain constrains these two things together. So if I move this, you can kind of see better what's happening. There's a hole punched into this guy in the exact shape of the window. Normally they're lined up and it looks like he's behind the window. But really, this is what's going on. Or actually, I can just that too. That's what's going on. It's being maxed out, but it's not permanent. It's not, I didn't delete these areas, so I can always fix them if I need to. The other reason we don't want it to be permanent, and this is the best part, if I click this chain, if I unconstrain the mask and the dude, and then I select the picture itself, these two things are separately selectable. If I select the picture itself, I can move this around live. I can resize this so that he's a little bit bigger, right? So that way you can make these changes live. If you just delete this, if you were just to select these things and delete them permanently, and your client's like, oh, I want them to be a little bit bigger, you gotta go through the whole rigmarole over again. And this is a pretty simple image that I chose. I chose it on purpose as a test ground because it's super black inside there. And the bars on the outside are super light. And so it's very easy to select and get what you need, right? So, but imagine if it wasn't. That's why we do that. But I did not do a perfect job. I would like to add certain areas. So I'm going to go back to selecting this layer. And I'm going to select this part. But I can't do anything up in, layer, matte. I can't add that way. How do I add? Well, I go to the layer mask, the black and white image, I select it, and I hit delete or backspace. And that will delete, although not everything, you can see it didn't get everything. It'll delete the part I had selected. Now, if I want to get rid of the rest of it, I have to grab an eraser and manually go in. Also, I want this on pencil. There we are. Now I'm zooming in a little bit more than I might otherwise so you guys can see what I'm doing, but there's definitely, you can see this little thing right here. There we are. And if for some reason I ever needed to add back in, you would just go to your brush. And now I'm repainting in that stuff. It's a little bit harder. If you ever accidentally do this, trying to paint back in the bar correctly is actually harder than you think because the edges are not going to be correct. If I do this, you can see that it's a little fuzzy, and then now I'm getting the green on the outside. That's no good. So technically what you're better off doing is overdoing it, like doing this, going back to this layer, selecting it, because the selection, nope, that's wrong. I can already tell. There we go. The selection tool does a pretty good job of selecting things. And then I go back up here to the mask layer and I hit delete and it's done it again. So you may have to kind of take an extra step of adding stuff back in and then bringing stuff back out. Make sure when you hit delete, if you see nothing happen, if you, I'll go down here and select this part. So if I go down here and I select that triangle and I hit delete and I see this, what that means, did I accidentally mess something up here? I think I did. Let's see something. Oh, I erased this ages ago. That stinks. But you have to make sure that you're on the right layer, because if you are on, I'll do it up here. If you are on this layer and you hit delete, oh, I erased that too. That was nice. Let's go back to the right spot. If I select something over here and I hit delete, there's no more image. Oh, I did. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. but basically, you have to be careful about which layer you're on, because otherwise it's not going to function properly at all. Instead of revealing this guy, it's just going to look like there's nothing there, because this is what's being told to reveal this guy. There we go. That's what's happening. The other, and this happened a lot in class where people were accidentally deleting either him, because that's the other thing might happen. You can, if you select this side and you hit delete and nothing happens and you're like, why, what's happening? Well, what's happening is that you if I disable this, you just punched a hole in your original drawing. So you just have to be very careful that you're only editing the mask. Anytime you hit delete, anytime you have a brush, anytime you have a tool that isn't just selecting things, you want to make sure that you are on the correct layer. All right, and that's about it for how this works. You just saw me right here. I can right click on this. I can say disable mask. It'll take it off for a minute. You can fix whatever you need to here. I can enable mask to put it back on. If you apply the layer mask, it makes it permanent. No reason to do that at all. You can delete it if you're like, wow, this stunk. Delete. You can, try over again. Get it fixed. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to get this right again. Now, for this assignment, I want you to do this with the other image that's here. It's a slightly different image, but it's actually not too hard. If I save this, open in Photoshop. A few notes on this. One, this counts as window that we're seeing through to the outside, and so does all of this. You can see this right here is a reflection, and this is also a reflection. It's actually like a picture or another window frame or something. But the only parts that are the window are this area and then this smaller area. If you want to get real fancy and add like some reflections, that's up to you. The other thing is that I don't want to get a PSD file from you where everything is just deleted. All right, if I let me disable this for a minute. So if I get a file that looks, just kidding, like this, where you've just gone through and deleted the front, part of this, you're not going to get any credit for it, because that's not the purpose of this assignment. The purpose of this assignment is to, right, if I see this where there's no layer mask and it's just these two images and one's got holes cut out of it, that's not the purpose of this assignment. The purpose of this assignment is layer masks, which means when I get this file from you that has like your name and then window on it and it's a PSD, there should be her layer on the bottom and then some crazy layer on the top and it has a layer mask on it, right? So if I don't see that, it doesn't count. So the purpose is to learn these tools, because you're going to need these tools at some point, right? Like I said before, this is permanent. I can no longer fix this. So we need to make sure we know these things.